So, um, so let's go on to talk about the first impressions of the movie. What do you people think about the movie is all about, and like, what were your thoughts about the movie? Watching the movie?
Shall I go?
Yeah, sure, Kritik. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was a great movie, and especially the main child actor was really good, and especially his physique to kind of really suited the role. He was kind of really small and skinny also, and that was a really great uh, choice over there. And the relationship between the boy and bird was really exciting and inspiring to watch. It also kind of has a strong criticism of the education system and how they fail the kids, and also destroy the future of those who don't, uh, measure on their scales. And it also hints at about how the system is kind of rigged, for specific people or classes. And I think that's it I have to say for first impressions. It was a great movie to watch, and it was also beautifully shot.
true, true. The part where you spoke about the boy suiting to the character, like aptly fitting into the character, that was actually good. And the way he pulled off the character, it was also great, actually. And about the education system, we'll get back to on it like after some time. So, Kavya, would you like to go about it? Like, what are your impressions in the movie?
So I really liked it, quite frankly speaking, and it didn't felt like a parallel cinema, but rather a mainstream cinema. So that is a very good thing, because the problem with parallel cinema is that people sometimes find it hard to connect with it, because it is too intellectual or too, very. But this movie felt like this is every person's story, because somewhere down the line everybody has felt that, what, everything is against them, no matter what happens. And even that one professor who, I think, literature, I think he was teaching literature. It was not specified anywhere, but that one professor who was helping them out. So we also usually get that good professor who sort of mentors us. So that was very relatable. That then that PT thing, like, uh, obviously we do not have that locker system in India, per se, the thing. But yeah, we do get those professors who are very, like, it was absolutely, it was properly portrayed that he didn't wanted to teach them as much as he wanted to win that fucking soccer match, right? It was more about winning the soccer match for himself. So we do get those type of professors who are bitter because they didn't made it, and now they want to live their life vicariously with them. We often get similar professors in our day-to-day life also. Then the thing with principal, again, it was very good. But the one thing that I really liked about it, that I think it is because probably it was shot on the negative film and not digital camera, that even in the scenes which were supposed to be dark, it was well lit. Unlike most movies nowadays, where they darken it in the post, or if they actually shoot it, like, for some weird reason we cannot actually see properly what is happening. I think Vivek had in previous session, or probably on the group, told that it is because of the compression algorithm, and sometimes the details get lost. But over here the details didn't lost. So I think shooting on film or negative, it has its own benefit. So I think that was something which was very refreshing, that I do not have to squint my eye and put strain on my eye to see what is happening in the visuals that are supposed to be dark, right? It was not too much detail, taking away the illusion that, okay, it is in night, so we actually feel that it is actually night. but simultaneously enough details are present over there, which is something that I see is missing, maybe because of the compression thing. But yeah, so that was very good for me. Like it was very pleasant for me. And like I said, it has a proper story. It has not like too much parallel. I mean, obviously it is been selected, so it must be a parallel cinema. But it is not too much parallel. It is very well easy to connect with. The story is very good. And the one thing that I am really glad that instead of showing him actually training, they actually did that whole sequence in the classroom, which was the only sequence in which I felt that he was truly having, he was feeling happiness and he was truly joyful in that particular moment. So I was really happy. I really connected with that scene. I wanted to see much more of that, but again, you can't have too much of something good because it then sort of dampens the material, right? If you do not have bad thing, then how can you appreciate the good thing, sort of like that?
Yeah, true. That was an interesting part, take on the negative films. Like, I actually didn't know it was actually shot on negatives.
No,
Uh,
even I don't know. I am just
Mhm.
assuming it was shot on negative.
Maybe most probably it would have been shot in negative film itself, because since it's a 1969 movie, and that was a good take on that. And I also agree with you, like this is like the parallel cinema. Like, partially agree with you that parallel cinema is only to the intellectual people who can discuss about it. It's not something like that. Many of the parallel cinema are like such ordinary regular films that we don't get an opportunity to see those movies, right, because it's very like you can't get your hands on it easily, right? It's not available anywhere, like on OTT platforms anywhere. Since the mainstream movies are easily available on OTT platforms, you can't deny that the parallel cinema is only for the intellectual people or something like that. So okay,
No,
coming back to,
actually,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Go
that
ahead.
was not my argument. My argument was that
Mhm.
uh, the parallel cinema is usually made for a niche audience. That was what I was saying.
Yes,
Like
true.
at least in
Mhm.
India, at least for India, that is true. Like
Mhm.
in India, we want masala flick, we want fast-paced
Mhm.
movies, and that is one of the reasons why I watch a lot of South Indian movies.
Mhm.
And because I'm watching with family, I usually watch it in Hindi dub
Mhm.
because that is more comfortable for the entire family to watch it.
Okay. Mhm.
So, that is the thing that, it becomes the normal mainstream movies. It's
Mhm.
usually a lot more digestible and it
Mhm.
suits every palette. It basically caters a lot of things.
Mhm.
When it comes to parallel cinema, it's basically focused on one particular theme. Na?
Mhm.
So it is a hit or miss. It cannot basically cater to each and every audience member. And that is
True.
why people sort of do not do this. But for this movie, the theme it chose, a boy's
Mhm.
upbringing. Like he's a kid and yet he knows so much. Like he lies, he cheats, and that thing we have seen a lot of time. But he
Mhm.
actually says that whatever he earns from the job, he's using it to pay installments. So basically he is also having like he's behaving like an adult. So it's
Yeah.
like burden has happened. So that is something that we can all a little bit, I'm not saying that connect 100%, but yeah, we can understand that thing because
We can
again,
relate to that. Yeah.
we are grown up, so we understand it very well.
Mhm.
So kids might not understand that thing, but for kids they have the whole bully routine, the whole guy is being bullied. So basically it
Mhm.
is a lot more like mainstream movie rather than art movie, which
Mhm.
basically has one single theme. So it becomes it's a hit or a miss because of that.
Yeah.
This actually has very good theme going on. It has something for everyone, and that is why, in my opinion, it is a lot more like a mainstream.
True. True. Yeah. I think I got you. Like you can't specifically draw a line between this being a parallel movie or this particular movie being a parallel movie or the mainstream movie. Like it's a bit on the line, right? So I get it. So let's come back to the talking about the movie. Well, the movie, I felt it sort of gave us an impression on what the kids actually go through. um, like we have all seen like of the abusive form of sort of thing. The teachers get resorted to harsh punishments when we don't do something, and that was well portrayed in the whole movie. And also, as Kaivalya mentioned, the way he narrates the whole story of how he trains the bird. So that was very well portrayed on like he was. It was the only thing he was passionate about, right? It was the only thing he was passionate about. Apart from all of the things that he was not even interested in schooling or getting educated or anything, he wanted to do something that genuinely he is interested in. So, so that's like it was beautifully shown in the old movie. So, yeah. Okay, new people have joined. Hi Vivek and Harun now.
Hi, I heard Varun is hosting the discussion today.
No, oh God,
I was
okay.
not at home. So,
Okay. This is going to be like too much for me today.
no,
Yeah.
man, you'll do a good job,
Okay.
I'm
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you.
Kritik,
So,
Kaivalya, Aruna, hello, hi.
Hey everyone.
Yeah.
so we were just talking about the first impressions of the movie. So we were going about it. And do you guys have anything to say about the movie? Like what you felt and Vivek and Arnav?
Oh, I'll mostly listen today because it's been more than a decade since I've seen this film, so I
Oh,
didn't get a time to watch it again. Today was a slightly busy day.
okay. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Harunav, do you want to go about it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the points that I will bring up have been discussed already. So yeah, I mean, watched it how many years? About 5, 6 years back. So first thought I had was, this is a English 400 blues, right? Similar theme, similar everything. So I mean, broad reflections about the film is how naturalistic it is. It almost feels like a documentary at times, more than a fictional film. And the stylistic choices that Ken Loach makes in this film, which sort of became a template for him for his subsequent films. He has a long career, right? He's still making films, and still winning awards actually in the circuit. So it's been over how many years? 50 years in his active that he's active as a filmmaker. So the thematic choices, the stylistic choices, they were kind of set in stone with this film. This was in a way his first theater, first fiction film. The other work that he had done before this was a TV film of sorts. Uh, it's called Poor Cow or something, if I'm not wrong. And this was his first feature film. So yeah, major indictment uh, of the public schooling system, the educational system, how it sort of suppresses the working class in industrial towns around Britain at that time and still persists. And at times it is a mix of tragedy and dark humor. Right, at times it's a horror show almost to see the lives of these people who are kind of trapped with no scope for social mobility or self-development. It's like the fates are preordained, right? They will go through this absolutely useless school system, and they will uh, be trapped in a dead-end job, almost unskilled labor for the rest of their lives, and lead their lives in misery. So yeah, first thoughts.
This was the film which put him on the map, if I'm not wrong, right? Like
Yep, yep,
it's his first festival sweep.
yep.
And yeah, he's been a big name since then.
It's very prolific.
so yeah, I think this is the only movie that I've watched of his, so I can't talk anything more about the director. So coming back to the movie, the, okay, let's talk about the animal human relationship itself. Like there is a line where the teacher visits this boy training the bird, and there's a line like the boy says, people call this as a pet, and he says, I claim it's not a pet, and it can't be tamed. They are to be manned. Uh, ox are to be manned or something like that. So what do you guys think about this line? Um, like the wild animals, or they can't be tamed at all, or the, I don't see the difference between the wild animal or the pet animal. So something like that, the boy is trying to tell, right? What do you guys think about it?
So, I mean, a hawk or a falcon is not a kind of animal which can be really domesticated, right? So I saw it as a more of an overt symbolism with, you know, uh, Billy. Was that his name? I forgot the main
Yes, it's
character's name.
Billy.
Yeah,
It's Billy. Casper Billy.
yeah, yeah. So he has a character also. I mean, he has a um, indomitable spirit within him which cannot be really tamed down. It can only be manned, and the man here, can be the English teacher who is the only compassionate person around him, right? Everyone else just bullies him. So I saw it as a sort of symbolism more than anything.
Anyone else want to go about it? Like,
I think when he said that they cannot be tamed but rather manned, he first of all, like Arno said, that he was projecting that I am not going to be tamed, I am going to be manned. Like I do not wish to be tamed, stuff like that. So that is a very good point that Arno mentioned. But apart from that, see, there is a difference when you say tamed and when you say manned. Tamed is means you are controlling that particular person 100%, so that is tamed. And manned is that what exactly is man? When you say man, you are basically teaching skills. Like a dog, you can control the dog while you're training. You are also controlling the dog. When you say sit, he sits down, right? When you say stand, he stands down. When you say sleep, he sleeps down, right? So that is taming. But when you say dog to fetch, or when you say dog to do something, you're teaching him a valuable skill, which he will use again. Obviously, it is valuable for you rather than the dog, but still, it is a skill for the dog, right? Fetch paper, so he would fetch the paper for you. Or guard this thing, or back twice. If you see someone who's coming, like I know a person who is blind, and he has trained his dog to bark twice when a known face is coming, and bark thrice when an unknown face is coming towards him. So in a way, training him to do a man's job. So that is man. You can train him. That is what I understand. Again, my understanding could be very crude or basic, but yeah, that's what I believe is the difference between tamed and manned.
oh, yeah.
And
So,
also the element of respect, right?
mhm.
While taming does not, I mean, involve any sort of respect, and that's what Billy is also facing in his life, right? Nobody really respects him. The only sort of respect that he gets is from his English teacher, and there's a part in that conversation that he has within the shed, right, while having Kiss in front of them, that they're almost, whispering. They're not talking loudly, and the English teacher says that it's out of respect.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we have Gavru Kumar here, right? We were actually talking about this case movie, and we had our first impressions until now. Talked about our first impressions, and we were going about to talk about a line. Like there is a line in this movie: "Hawks can't be tamed, and they are mad." Do you have anything to say about this line, like Gaurav or Kritik? I think sorry, Gaurav left. I think so. Yeah.
I missed it. Can you just repeat it? I'm sorry.
Oh, there is a line in the movie where the teacher visits Billy in the shed, and he says the line, "Hawks can't be tamed; they are manned." Do you have like what do you think about the line? Why Billy said this line, and like what do you think about this? Like pets, he differentiates between the pets and the wild animals.
Again, I'm afraid I'll have to just parrot what Arnav said. He kind of sees himself in the falcon or the kestrel, I believe, and maybe I don't. I think what he says is also true about the kestrel. Like it's a fact, and he admires that in that. and he kind of aspires or wants to kind of respect and awe the bird commands, and he likes a bird, and I don't have much to add, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
Hello everyone.
Hello, Farajit sir.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Yes, actually, I joined this meeting using the web, so I was unable to unmute myself.
Oh,
Oh,
I think you're audible right now.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a new member to this the parallel cinema.
Hmm.
Okay, so I happened to actually I knew ki the discussion for today would be case, but I happened to see Roar in the morning.
Okay. Hmm.
So is it all right? I hope it's okay to discuss
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I could share my thoughts on it for a while, just for a few minutes.
Definitely, definitely, it's
no, no,
okay.
hold on.
We're
Roar
on.
discussion is after 2 weeks, right? Or no,
Yeah,
the
I'm
next
not
week.
sure
Next
exactly.
Next
week,
week,
But
next week, next Sunday.
next Saturday or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that is on next week. Now, okay, how do we get to know which movie is for which?
So there is a poster. I'll send a link in the chat, so you
Okay.
can look at the poster.
Okay,
And
and Wendy and that one has already happened. Wendy and
and on
Wills.
Letterbox we also have a list. So if you go to the
Okay.
Parallel Cinema Club Letterbox, there's a
Okay.
list with all the dates. So you can use
Perfect.
that
Perfect.
also.
Perfect.
I'll
Perfect.
send the link in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Are
And
you
yes,
Gaurav?
yes, my name is Gaurav.
Oh, hi, welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
So right now your name is not showing. So if you go to your profile
Okay.
setting,
Okay.
you
Yeah, I
can
could just rename myself. Thank you.
okay, okay. And
Okay. And do
on
we
your
select movie discussion for each week?
yeah, so we have a calendar. At the beginning of
Hmm.
the month, we announce that these are the dates where these films will be discussed. So you can
Oh,
watch them, and then around 6 p.m. we start the discussion.
right, right. As well as you guys share this Google Drive thing, na?
Yes.
So that we
Right.
have access to movies.
Ah, right, right.
Actually, thank to you guys because I was looking for Roar quite a long time, and I happened to see it, and it literally blew my mind. We'll discuss. I'll be there. I'll be
Yeah,
there
it's a
next week.
very, very interesting movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm glad you're watching films and you're coming to discussion. That's more than we
Thank
can
you,
do.
thank you. And you guys could continue. Maybe I'll join you next week. Thank you so much.
No, you can listen, and then later on, if
Oh,
you have
per-
something interesting to say about some topic, sometimes the discussions go beyond just the film. So if there's
Agreed,
something
agreed, agreed, agreed.
you can
Something
share,
good happened. Something
yeah,
good
yeah.
happened. Okay, after I joined this channel na, in Telegram. Hello.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, so basically, I'm an undergrad student. Okay, I'm
okay,
an undergrad student from DU. So
okay,
my teacher happened to ask me a question which was regarding the syllabus only. It was
okay,
in the syllabus. So the question she asked me, ki, what is the difference between popular and parallel cinema?
huh,
So I truly didn't have the much idea, but I connected the dot,
hmm,
realizing ki parallel cinema they're basically not. I mean, the cinemas that is kind of discussed in the group are most art house or artistic film, more like.
correct.
So I happened to answer her well, and she liked that answer. See,
Hmm.
and yes, that was.
That's great. If you have other friends who enjoy these kind of films, you can invite
Hmm.
them to the group also.
Perfect. Definitely, I will.
Okay. All right, Varun. Sorry.
Yeah,
Back to you.
that's okay. So yeah, since we were talking about that part where the tamed and the man. So yeah, as Arnav mentioned, so there is this symbolism that there is it's a symbolism between how it is to be manned or something. So I and also there is a stark contrast between the boy's life and the bird itself, right? Whereas like the boy is still in an abusive environment, and even at the school he's getting bullied, and at the home also he's getting bullied by his brother, and he's in an abusive state, and also he can't escape out of it, right? And the same way he is also being ignorant about most of the things. He does what he wants to do, something like that. The similarities I see the similarities can also be found in this falcon as well. because it wanted to escape at the first, but it couldn't. Like, but the way it is getting trained by the boy, still the bird still likes to be with the boy, and then just it keeps on getting trained and trained, and then it stays with him. So yeah, that was what I thought about it. And also the part where he talks about the pet animals and the wild animals is like, um, I would say, like, there is no difference between wild animal or a pet animal. You can, most of the animals, I would say that, okay, most of the animals can, we can form a bond between them, right? Like, there is no difference regardless of it being a wild animal or a pet animal. We can obviously form a bond between any kind of animal if we get along with the animal. So yeah, that was what I was thinking about. So I hope I'm not being too over the board. Yeah,
Yeah, the thing you mentioned about the abusive relationship he's having in his household with his mother and with his brother. Uh, I think that somewhere down the line it motivated him to take better care of the cast. Like, he says that, the shit that I am going through, cash should not go through that shit, right? So it actually made a very beautiful connection between them, because he just wanted to live vicariously via his own hawk, the cats. At least that's what I sort of uh, think. I came to this conclusion.
true, true. Yeah. So let us talk about the education system, or the kind of uh, harsh punishments that the teachers give at school, right? It's like, what do you guys think about that?
When it came to the principal, I think the principal himself explained it very well, that he doesn't understand what exactly is happening, why they are behaving like that, but he knows this is wrong and he is going to keep them punishing till they choose the right path. I think it's his default way of reforming the kids, and probable the reason behind it is because that is the exact way that he was reformed, right? So he doesn't know any better. That is the issue with the principal, that he doesn't know any better. But when it comes to the coach, he's a damn mean man, and he should be put behind bars, because the way he treats this kid is like, the meanest thing that I saw was him, reducing the temperature of the showers just to punish him, because it was his fault that he lost that soccer match. So that was the meanest thing that I've seen. It's almost like child abuse to turned up. And I don't understand why a professor should get so much. But then again, I think, like I mentioned, the professor was probably bitter because he did not made it in soccer. So he just wanted to win. At least in the school, I would be the champion. And oh man, this boy is making my life hell. I mean, that is his mentality. So I think that was really bad. And like I mentioned, we get this type of characters, right? They are beautifully mentioned, all the three categories of professors that we meet. A professor that is genuinely interested in you, a professor that does not give two shits about you, and a professor who wants to be invested in you, but he doesn't understand how to get invested in you because he doesn't has the necessary tools to help you. So they showcase all the three type of professors or teaching faculty members in this particular thing. So that was very good, in my opinion. They showed all the three categories, apart from one more category in which the professor knowingly spoils you. That is also a case. So that was one category that has been left out. But yeah, they have done a decent job, in my opinion, showing how different faculties are.
You're right. You're right. There was these people, these kinds of different kinds of teachers portrayed properly. So yeah, anyone else wants to go about it?
Yeah, similar thoughts. So, the headmaster, while caning the boys, there's a scene where after the assembly, 4 or 5 boys are rounded up and they're brought into the headmaster's room, and he starts caning them after lecturing them for a while, right? And he says that I'm doing this knowing fully well that you'll be back next week and the next week after that, time and time again. Right? So it's a vicious cycle that everyone is trapped in. And yeah, the the PE instructor, the football coach, that's one of the most iconic scenes of the film, right? That has played out, that has been shown to British PE instructors or PE teachers around the country, um, to instruct them as to what not to do as a PE teacher. So that's an iconic scene. And also the employment officer, right, where Billy goes to interview right around the end of the film. He just casually identifies him as best suited for manual labor and suggests some sort of trade school or a future as a miner, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just a vicious cycle.
I think that mining thing was because more or less, I think the movie is situated in a town where almost there is a huge mine and almost a lot of people work in the mine.
Yep. It's in
So
Barnsley. It's in
yeah,
Yorkshire.
yeah. So now I don't know. My geography is not that good. So yeah. So basically, what is this is the same thing, na? Like if you see someone near the coastal area, one of the most casual thing, अरे कुछ नहीं किया तो you will if you do nothing else, then you can at least fish, right? So I think it was in a similar manner, and like okay, if you can't do anything else, well, there's always mine to fall back to. We have so many mines, so I
Yeah,
think that was the thing over there.
yeah. The town is built around the mine itself, right? That's the biggest employer in the town, and it needs a steady source of manual, so cheap labor, right? So, in a way, the education system is designed around that to provide that steady supply of labor, unskilled labor.
Arnav, after you mentioned it only, I had this thought that if the headmaster doesn't believe that the punishment will work on the kids, why does he still go ahead with it?
I think the
We all
headmaster
have.
actually says that thing, right? He says that I know this is not going to work, but I'm still going to do it in hope that one day you will realize it, that why I'm doing this, why I'm doing this. So it's basically there is this thing about insanity, thinking that one day it would give a different output, right? So I think that is the mentality of the headmaster, that if I beat the shit out of them, eventually they would understand what they are supposed to understand. It's a very old school mentality, but
Yeah,
that is
we,
the thinking behind it. They see that
mhm.
when you are consistently like it, वो कहते हैं ना, what is that, the negative reinforcement, right? Every time you smoke you will get caned, so you better quit smoking so that you can avoid getting caned. So that is how the negative reinforcement also works in real life. But it works only on kids who are not yet prone. But once you get easy to caning, then it doesn't help you a lot, right? Because now it has sort of become a habit of yours. In fact, sometimes after smoking, if you don't get pain, then that might feel odd to you. uh, this can also happen, so I don't know, but I think his mindset is that eventually if I give them enough punishment, they would automatically reform, and that is his hope, and he's living on that hope. Or else why even bother thinking about the kids, right? So that is the mindset he's coming from.
Yes, you're right.
See, the
Yeah.
film is also sorry. The film is also about the film is about conditioning. So you follow the rules without really questioning them. The kid does not follow the rule. That's why everyone is out to get him. So the professor who said this, sorry, I've seen the film, but I've not seen it again. But the professor who is this the professor who says this? Correct, if I'm not wrong.
Principal, it's the principal who paints them.
Principal, correct. So even the principal has been through that sort of conditioning. So that is the reason he comes up with that line. That's what it's supposed to signify.
Yeah, he
Everyone,
says that he has even taught the the children's parents also, right? So he has been
Correct,
doing it for
correct, correct.
generations.
Because if you see in the film, there are different institutions at play, the school and the home. These are the two more important institutions out there for any kid growing up. So how they treat you, uh, the child, uh, is what the film is showing. So everyone is part of this conditioning, and the kid behaves in a way which does not conform with that conditioning, and in a way that is offensive to everyone around. Even when you look at the brother at the end, he's done something, but he does not really know, he himself does not really know how to react to it, you know. So freedom is frowned upon. That's the thing. Everyone is, and even this kid, unknowingly so, he is also trying to tame a wild bird. This bird is not supposed to be tamed, but he's doing that. So there is these are these levels of conditioning that's happening all around us. There are systems everywhere. Whether or not you want it, knowing unknowingly, you are part of that system. That's what's happening.
Yes, yes, you're right, Vishal. Sorry. Yeah. Kritik, you wanted to say something?
No, I think, yeah, I was just going to answer my own question, but yeah, I think I was thinking like, he was doing it like kind of out of habit. That's what he's done. The teacher, I mean, the headmaster, he's done it before. He's given these kind of punishments before. He's going to do it today and he's going to do it tomorrow. But Vishal put it in a far better way. So I'm done.
Yes, yes. Yeah. There is this part where the hmm, the boy Billy kills another bird and it feeds to this his hawk, right? Like he knows like killing this bird and feeding it to another animal, and it needs to be it need to be fed and everything. So like, what do you think about that part where this whole sequence comes upon, and then he's still trying to feed the bird and keep it on a leash? Like it's still a wild animal and it can't be kept like it can't be kept as a pet, right? Do you people think what he was doing is like keeping a wild animal with him is like what do you people think about it? Is it just he was passionate to tame a bird, like to train this falcon and then keeping it as a pet, or what do you guys think about it?
I mean, yeah, it's been, I think, pretty much obvious that he wanted to train him. Like he also mentions it in that scene in the school classroom where he says that I'm afraid that he would go away and he would not come back to me. Right? He mentions it over there also, that which
Yes.
basically means that he wants to keep him as his pet. But yeah, the thing that really like I'm also trying to process is that a kid who he knows that basically they would eat another bird, small birds, insects, and stuff like that. And if I was in the kid's place, then I would have basically either bought it from the market, like he bought the beef in the end from the money that his brother had given him to place on a bet. He instead bought the beef from the market, and otherwise I would have collected insects and probably fed them live insects. I wouldn't have killed myself. So I,
No,
I, I still cannot process that particular thing about. But yeah, he definitely wanted to keep the bird as his pet.
There are instances where it mentions that he feeds them insects and other things as well. So I think, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm putting the right question or not. I'm just asking you. So what do you think about it, Kritik and Arunav, Vishal?
I mean, it's a pretty poor working class town, right? And the boy himself, he's working and he gives that money to his mom, and he has pretty meager resources, right? And he has to feed this, you know, hawk that he's trying to train. So I can't really judge him for that.
Yeah. So yeah, that is something that also crossed my mind. But in my mind, it is like he was so upset over that of Kess, right? But he himself was killing Sparrow. So obviously, again, he was more emotionally connected with Kess and not with the Sparrow. But like, if I was in his place, I would have never been able to bring myself to killing another bird to feed him. I would have let him fly away and hunt himself. I wouldn't have stopped the falcon from, or the hawk from, doing whatever he wanted to do. But I don't think I would have it inside me to kill another bird to feed another bird. And if I had that inside me, then I don't know. Like, it's very strange. Again, I hope I was able to
No,
make
but
out right.
expecting a child to make those moralistic, these seem like very, for you, Cavalier, it seems like, or any one of us, seems like something that we've thought about. For a kid who's having a difficult life, for him to be able to process all of this seems like asking too much of him. Then the question is, are we expecting uh, are we expecting a moral person on screen, or a character on screen? So that's what we have to think about, because its actions are also very symbolic.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
that's,
yeah, yeah. Obviously we could have shown. I mean, it is
yeah.
also possible
So
that
that's
behind the screen, something that has not happened on the screen, the boy was actually struggling to kill the sparrow. It could have been also showcased, but they have didn't show. Or probably it was something that they didn't want it to dwell into it, like make it a lot more darker. Like, because in the first part also I said that this movie is more like a mainstream movie which can cater to a lot of audience, and probably delving or showing that particular scene might have made it not easily digestible for common consumer.
I don't really know how mainstream this film is. I can't really answer that question. But I know that this film did not. I don't think it got a easy release. I don't think it had a good distribution. It just got great word of mouth, and then apparently it went on to win a lot of awards.
Yeah,
I don't personally. I'm personally not. I don't see this as a mainstream film, but it's a very personal this thing, because I also don't see that a very straightforward film. It's deceptively straightforward. If I would call it deceptively straightforward, because um, when we see a film where children are struggling, we don't really um, uh, we don't really see this system of subjugation that Cass is trying to show. Not sorry, I think I should reframe it. It's not as if we don't see it, but it's done in a very. This film is crystallized it in a very beautiful way, and it's actually. I've not seen tons of Ken Loach's film, because he seems to be a prodigious filmmaker. But whatever I've seen of his, this film feels much more lyrical than all of his other work. Though I have to say, all of his other films are equally impactful. I've been very lucky to see his films on the big screen, and not, I wouldn't call them big screen experience, but uh, I have been stunned into silence at the end of it. So, and none of his films seem straightforward mainstream to me. But they are not. If we define art house films or parallel films by being esoteric, then it's not that. But it's definitely not straightforward mainstream. At least
So
in
I think Ken
Yeah.
Loach, fits into that middle of the road category.
correct.
People like Sham Benegal or Govind Nihalani in the context of India. So it's not completely mainstream. It's not absolutely esoteric or art house like you mentioned. It's somewhere in the middle, and he has been a committed socialist right from his younger days. Right, he has been a card-carrying member of the Labor Party.
Yeah, yeah.
So he makes these films for the working class. He'll never make any,
Even
highbrow
even a
esoteric.
film like Angel's Share, which is probably much more mainstream than his other films.
Hmm.
It had that socialist bent to it.
Yeah, every one of his films
Correct.
has it.
So that it's there. Like he's,
Hmm.
and I don't think he's even interested in pandering to
Yeah.
the other side. So
See, what I meant was like we discussed earlier with Varun that when I say that it is more like a mainstream movie, I meant that mainstream movie are very easy to consume. For a normal lay person also. You do not have a particular theme, and it caters to a very large audience, right? Now this movie, it is a child's movie, so if a kid is watching, then he would see, oh yeah, I am also bullied, oh there is a hope for me, right? Then if there is a male, like for example, I'm just saying, obviously a kid would not probably see this movie, but for someone who wants to see a little bit like a drama, okay, there is family drama also involved in this. So basically it is a movie that is more in line with mainstream movies. That was what I was saying, that it caters to a larger audience, and it is more palatable, it is more easy to consume in comparison to the traditional sorry, art film movies, right? Because those are basically on one particular theme, so a particular, they have a niche audience, right? Here it is a very wider scope for a lot of audience, so that is why I told that it is more close to a mainstream movie. So that is
actually,
just one this thing I wanted to
no.
let.
I mean, I'm not arguing that. Actually, sometimes what happens is, for example, Anurag Kashyap says that I think that I make mainstream films. I don't make art house films. So sometimes what happens is films are actually not really art house, but just because they are not those out and out masala films, they are considered as parallel. That's what sometimes that's what happens. So yeah, this film is not you. I totally agree with it. It's not something which even if you don't understand the symbolism in it, it's not something which is difficult. It's as you said, it rightly said, it's palatable. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you both are actually correct. So you can't actually get to a conclusion that this is an art house film or this is something which is mainstream or something like that. But yeah, and since we're actually talking about the director Ken Loach, and if anyone has something else to talk about the movie, please go on, or else we can talk about Ken Loach's movie. I mean Ken Loach's filmography or something.
Acha, there is one thing that I wanted to mention. I really liked how he shot that song in that party. The singer, oh, what a babe, and the facial expression on that singer. I really liked it. Like I was not expecting it uh, in this movie. So I really liked that part.
Okay. So like this is the only movie that I've watched of his. So if anyone has anything to talk about the director, please you can go ahead. Since we are already talking about the Ken Loach.
Just before that, I just googled this movie, and it turns out it's like a really timely critique of the education system present in Britain at that time. And if anyone, I just googled it, so if anyone knows more about the situation and what Ken Loach was trying to communicate at that point of time, it'll be good. Or well, from what
I don't know. So I don't really know the British educational system. Can't really comment on it. But because I never saw it as Uh, if I go to the heart of the film, for me, it's not only a critic of the educational system. So you look at the game of football that we see in the film. It seems like it's just a funny scene, but it is not. It's doing much more than that, right? The rules are set by the people in power, which is what the teacher symbolizes here, and he plays according to his rules. You're just supposed to follow it. It becomes funny, and even after that, the punishment, the kind of punishment that he metes out. Why? You don't really get it, right? It's just he's doing it. He's laying down the rules. Kids are supposed to follow them, and the next generation will also do the same. So, uh, uh, I would not know the specifics of. It's obviously a critique of the educational system, but I would also say it's more universal, right? As in, I so the only thing that I cannot connect to is bullying, because I have to say I never ever saw bullying of that sort, which I see in Western films. I've never seen it in my life, and it's not that I grew up in some uh, I mean, I went to some school where everything was hunky dory. It's not that, but that is one thing I cannot connect to. So I find it very difficult to see kids being so acidic. It's not something that I can connect to. But when you just simply think about the educational system, it seems universal, right? This is the public school system, and what scope do children have? They just have to follow the rules. You can't break the rules. And the heart of it, the film, it everyone around him, he or she, they just hate the fact that he's free. You see it every character that comes in his life, except this one professor, and probably that's why he's only a teacher. He's not, you know, he's probably not made it because he has some sort of empathy, which is a quality which doesn't seem like anybody else has in the film. So it it's not it's more much more than a criticism of the educational system. I think the criticism of the educational system is just a tool to tell a story in this film, but the film is doing much more. As far as the specifics go, I think if somebody else can answer it, it would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a broad criticism of the social structures prevalent around that time, right? Not
Exactly.
just the educational system. So, just one small little piece of information regarding the education, the school that is being shown here, right? So, the students that you're seeing here, they are all essentially rejects, right? So, at that in the 50s and 60s, England or Britain, right, there was a system where 11-year-olds, there was a certain grade after which they had to give a national exam, right? So the people who failed that exam, they were put into schools called secondary modern schools, and that is the school that we see here, right? And eventually this particular system was discontinued, but in the 60s this was still there. So the people we are seeing, the kind of behavior that um, uh, the teachers are displaying, the treatment that is being meted out to the students, right? You can put that in context, that these are essentially rejects.
Yeah, thanks, Arnav. But the reason why I brought it up was because it kind of added a new meaning to me, knowing this fact about the film and what they're trying to do from the back, because it kind of creates this kind of system where already underprivileged kids get a worse education than privileged kids because of an exam they had to take when they're 11 years old.
Yes.
And also apparently the what do you say, the I don't know the correct UK term for it, but the counselor or the job counselor, even that was kind of a setup, or uh, where the system is rigged, where they kind of get they force the bad students into these kinds of manual labor, and the bad students are already kind of from underprivileged families and they're not given a chance to grow.
Yeah, it's all rigged,
So
and they're just being exploited as a steady source of cheap labor for the industries which are kind of centered around the town
Yeah,
is centered around, right?
because when he also goes for that assessment, I think the professor, the assessor or whoever that guy is, counselor, he also asks him to, think about getting a job at the mines, isn't it? I mean, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
So
he's
yeah,
essentially
that's
presented with two
basically
options:
if
learn
you're
a
not
trade or
giving,
go to the mines.
yeah, when you're initiating an idea that you have no other choice, that's all you got to do. Everything will be all right. There is security in doing this job or this way of life. So it's very deceptive how the film just shows it in the passing, but it's very it's actually very deep rooted. It's a very important aspect.
And the
So yeah,
education system being portrayed here, right, that should not really come as a surprise to us Indian kids, right? We've all seen it firsthand, at least the people who have been
That's why
exposed to the
I
public
said
school
this film
system.
is very universal. I mean, the
Yeah,
education system is just a tool to tell a story. This film is very universal in all
yeah,
its ways.
yeah. Even the bullying, I have experienced it for firsthand at public schools. It's just
No,
brutal.
I understand because when I talk to people, they are like, no, we can connect to it. This is just a very, that's why I clarified. It's a very personal thing. I've not seen it. I've also not seen anybody doing it. So it is very difficult for me to connect. As in kids, I can understand grown-ups being very, I mean, I can see grown-ups being bullies, but kids, I mean, I find it very difficult to connect. But I'm sure, I mean, there is enough proof out there. So all I'm saying is I'm not able to connect. That's all.
They say that the kids are the biggest bullies because they do not understand what the consequences are going to be on the other person, while the grown up understand and they get a morality compass and they stop doing that shit. So the grown up who are doing bully, they are the worst of the lots basically. But when you're a kid, you do not actually understand that this is actually bullying. This is going to have a bad influence, and that is why they say that the kids are the meanest person, but they are also the kindest because they do not know the difference between mean thing and kind thing. They just do what they feel like.
No,
So that is the
actually,
thing
I
about
can
it.
understand people. So when I was in college, I lived in a hostel. So uh, there was this guy who now I realize was being bullied by everyone, and I might have also done it. As in, I made fun of him, but I was also very kind to him. So that point, it was all right. As in, I thought he was just making fun of this guy. But now you grow up, you get perspective, and I realized, man, like that boy must have been really traumatized by what was happening around him. So yeah, that's
Yeah, absolutely. Like we might have all done this, right? Because just being somewhat like body shaming or something, we would have definitely done something, and we wouldn't have realized when we were kids. We would actually it kind of impacts them. It will be like a lasting impression on those other kids or your peers, right? So that's there. So yeah, coming back to the discussion and
I
yeah,
wanted to add something on a side note regarding this
sure,
topic before we
please.
move on. Uh, there was a study that I read long ago, and unfortunately, I'll try to find a link to it. But if I don't, I'll see what I can find. But the study said that people who abuse animals, people in general, not just kids, are manifesting their frustrations of their experience of abuse. So they have been abused. So it has been like it's been going on for a certain amount of time, and it has disturbed them to the degree where they've accepted it as a normal. And since they've accepted it as a normal, they see no wrong in dishing out abuse to someone weaker than them, which happens to be animals in many cases. So, and that study also said that people who abuse animals on a regular basis are prime candidates to move on to greater, more dangerous crimes. So, in a way, the whole cycle of abuse theory, it all fits together. That you abuse someone, they end up disturbed, and they abuse animals, and later on, they may even go on to, uh, you know, violent crimes. So, I'll try to find a link to the study, but just sharing something I read.
Okay, sure. And Also, we might have seen like many people do abuses, like abuse someone else or some animal or something, just out of fun, right? Just to make something. Like I've seen people doing it, that they tie some kind of a cracker or something to a dog's tail, or put something around its neck or something. They just do it also out of fun, right? It's not just that they do it just because they have been abused before or something.
I think what Vivek and the study meant to say was that, some people are like, some people are just prone to, like, some people just like to do it, but most people who do not actually like to do it, they are more likely to fall in this type of abusive thing if they are themselves abused. So that is what I think the study and the Vivek meant to say. Like, okay, some people are born, like हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, some people are born prodigy, but that does not mean that another person cannot be a prodigy via consistent hard work and study, right? So I think that was the study about, like, some people are going to be born that way, but few people who are not actually born that way end up doing this type of horrible things because of the abuse that they themselves have experienced. That was the study about. That is, in my opinion, that is how I interpret it.
That's interesting. We'll have to look into what the actual study has portrayed. Yeah.
Varun, there was also a theory that um, laughter is seen as um, a gut instinct to feeling disturbed. And to give you an example, when Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho had come out, right? Um, Hitchcock silently used to, go into some theaters just to see the reaction into the violent parts of the film. And he was surprised that people are laughing at it. And later on, after a couple weeks, as the word of mouth spread, he understood that people are actually genuinely disturbed and frightened by what is going on. That's why they're laughing. And I'm sure you guys have also experienced this in a horror movie. There'll be a very scary scene, and all of a sudden, like three, four idiots will be laughing, but they're
Just to.
laughing to hide their fear.
Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah.
So maybe that has some connection into what you're saying, that sure, they pretend to have fun with these animals by abusing them or
Yeah.
doing it as a form of entertainment, but that laughter is hiding their inner disturbance.
Yeah. True. Yeah. So yeah. Anything else you guys want to add on to the film discussion, or else we can just talk a bit about the director and his filmography, and then we can close the session after this.
Acha, Vivek, I had just one question. Like, I hypothesize this, that since this is shot on the negative film, that is probably the reason why even those scenes which are supposed to be night scenes or dimly lit scenes are actually good enough that we can see details, at least the required details, right? Unlike most movies, like you had mentioned somewhere, right, that because of the compression, the scenes of the dark sequences, the details are lost, and because of that, you have to put a lot of strain to see exactly what is happening. So, is it because it was shot in negative, that is why it was well lit, or would you say some other reason? Would you give some other reason for it?
That is entirely in the hands of the cinematographer, to be honest, because color film in the 60s, I guess, was still new, maybe not that commonplace, I guess. No, they were commonplace, but there's still a new technology. That means the sensitivity was not as high as black and white film. So you need a lot of light to shoot on color film. When you shoot outdoors, that is not a problem because sunlight is ample. But when you shoot indoors, you run into problems. It is only
No,
later on, in the 80s and 90s, I would say 90s and 2000s were the peak era for color film, because at that point the sensitivity of color film was extremely high. And since 2008 2009, there's been no new development in film technology. Whatever we have from that era is still there with us. So yeah, in the newer films, you don't need as much light to expose expose a scene correctly, but in older films you need a lot of light. So if you are able to see good amount of detail in an older film, that is probably because the cinematographer understood the exposure level of this film and accordingly arranged for the lights to be set for the scene.
No, actually, what I was saying was that, you see, if you watch modern movies nowadays, like let's say some horror flick which has released now, like within a decade or so, if you see that in uncompressed quality, you can actually make out what is happening in the dark scenes, right? But if you compress the file and then you view it, you see, like you had mentioned that because of the compression there is some data loss, and because of that the details are not as apparent, and you have to look harder to see what is happening. I think you had mentioned it somewhere in either in the past discussion or in the group. But in here, like this movie, even after compressing the file and viewing it in a compressed manner, I was still able to look into like the details in the dark dimly lit scenes, right? And it was not like overexposed. So that is what I was asking, like was it because of it was shot on the films, that is why the compression did not cause any data loss, or is there some other reason? That is what I was asking.
So this was shot on location and with completely natural lighting. That's the decision that they took at the very beginning. That will be very naturalistic, and it was all on the cinematographer. I don't remember his name, but he worked as the either the camera operator or cinematographer for Lindsay Anderson's GIF. I don't know if you guys have seen that film. That's another 60s classic, won the Palme d'Or. So he worked on that before he came on board to work on this. So I guess it's down to his skill.
And to be honest, any film that you've ever seen has been compressed in some form or the other, including films which you see in the cinema. Uh, the DCP or digital cinema package, which is sent to theaters for projection, that also goes through some level of compression. It's not fully uncompressed, but the level of compression is high enough that for a general audience it's not a big deal. So the only people who have ever seen the fully uncompressed version of a film is the director and the colorist. So in this case, if you're able to see details of the shadows and all these things, that means the restoration people have done a good job. Just a second.
And also, serious filmmakers, right? They just don't take a call. Okay, I have low budget, I have no money, I'm going to shoot this film. Shoot this film in natural lighting, whatever may be the result. That's not how it goes. So it's just a stylistic choice. There are many elements that come into play. I'll talk about this anecdote that happened. I sat for a screening of Chauthi Koot in Mami and saw the film. The director came to answer our questions at the end. The first thing that he said was sorry. So everyone got surprised. What happened? He said, "This is I'm very sorry because this is not the film that I shot." And we were like, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "The projection is so bad that what I shot is not what you saw, because just because things are in the dark doesn't mean you can't see them. So over here, there are things in the dark that you just can't see, but we lit it in a particular way that you can even see things in the dark and still feel that it is night." So, and it's a great cinematographer. He's a very good cinematographer, top class cinematographer. He also shot Aligarh. So, um, it's there are a lot of things that go into taking that decision. It's not, there is no easy answer to it. And at that point, uh, even Ken Loach, even if he had less money, I'm very sure that so filmmakers, they make sure that they have enough money to make the film. Just because it's on a low budget, they will not, because the image matters. Serious filmmakers, cinematic filmmakers, for them the image matters. Just because this film is not is not, uh, let's say it's not visual in style like a Tarkovsky film, doesn't mean a visual is not important for Ken Loach. So uh, I am very sure that, so you see the opening shot. So they even if it is a film that is shot in 100% natural lighting, they will have made sure that we give this shot everything that it needs for us to convey what we want to convey.
Was this at PVR Phoenix with Chauthi Court?
I'm very sure if you are there, I mean, I'm sure it's no, not in PVR Phoenix. It was in, if I'm not wrong, it was in City, not City Mall. This one, Infinity.
Okay, I saw it at Phoenix, but PVR is notorious for this, and I've complained to them multiple times by now. What a lot of cinemas in India do is they lower the brightness just to save the number of hours a lamp can operate, because replacing a lamp, cost a good amount of money. So they want to extend the life of the lamp, so they they end up lowering the brightness to save some money. But what happens is you miss out on the experience. So the very thing you paid for is not up to not up to par.
I thought digital projectors like kind of solve these kind of projection issues and all.
No, whether it's digital or whether it's 35 millimeter, you still need a lamp to blast the light, right?
So digital projectors still have a lamp.
Yes, there is a light source, right? There has to be a light source for the projection.
You mean the light that comes out of the
The projector,
projector?
yeah.
That same lamp goes like,
Even your office projector has a lamp,
yeah. Okay,
right?
is it the
And
same lamp and it
no, it's
goes?
not the same lamp. Every projector has a very different lamp, and
No, I mean the same lamp that you're talking about.
correct, the same thing, but for cinema projectors, the lamp is much larger, and especially for 4K projectors, it'll be even larger. And
And expensive.
recently, the lamp has been replaced by laser, which you might see in some cinemas.
Okay.
There are a handful of cinemas in India which have laser projection. That has different problems, but yeah, laser is supposed to be almost like OLED quality in cinema. But there are some small technical issues with laser. So if the projectionist doesn't know how to handle them, the image will look blurry.
That's interesting because I thought digital thing like making the theater completely digital solve these kinds of problems because uh, I mean that was my whatever perspective I found in my mind at least.
The easiest way to tell whether the projection is uh, properly set up or not is that you, as an audience, just by gut instinct, you should feel that the image has a shine to it. That if you, especially if you've been to a cinema which is recently opened or recently renovated, you'll see that the projection over there is like, very visible and very crisp. And whereas recently I saw the new James Bond movie in an IMAX at PVR, and the projection was horrible. Even in a afternoon setting with some shadows, it's completely gray. There's nothing there. So they've put it so dim, even in an IMAX theater, which is supposed to be. So I don't know if you guys know, but IMAX has a technical check every morning with every cinema. So the IMAX Corporation in the US, they have a 24 hours technical team, and they check the test reports of every single cinema to make sure that everything is done up to standard. So what these clever guys at PVR are probably doing is they'll do the test properly, but after that they lower the brightness. So yeah, given a chance, I try not to go to PVR. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, coming back to the discussion, yeah, do you guys have anything to add about the film or anything about the filmmaker?
I actually don't know what you guys have discussed before I came in, but I think I have. This is my favorite film in the curation. I fell in love with it when I saw it for the
All
first time.
thanks to Vivek, actually.
So,
No,
uh,
actually, Vishal and I chose this film together.
so uh,
And then we should thank you, people.
Yeah, Vishal, thank yourself.
yeah, I do that all the time. So so since I think I could say my bit about Ken Loach. So I saw this film, and so the first film of Ken Loach that I saw was very underwhelming. So which was An Angel's Share, which was all right, but did not seem like a film made by a master. And then I saw I, Daniel Blake, and it just I remember something peculiar happened was so I, Daniel Blake, and his previous film, the last film that he made, Sorry We Missed You. I happened to see the film with this friend of mine, and we only meet at film festivals.
Did you see
And
it at Regal?
I Sorry We Missed You.
No,
No,
Daniel
I,
Blake.
Daniel Blake. I saw it in. I think I saw it in Infinity.
Okay.
But I saw this thing in Regal. Not Regal. Liberty. This one. Uh, Sorry We Missed You. So I, so both of us saw the film together, and I remember very distinctly that I did not get up after the film got over. I sat there, which rarely happens to me. I might love a film a lot, but that kind of reaction is very rare. So after I saw An Angel's Share, I saw I, Daniel Blake. I was really taken aback by that film, and then I went to Kess. And when I saw Kess, I felt it for me. It was like a straight away a masterpiece. It's just a beautifully made film. It's emotionally it's doing to you what, as Cavalier said, like it's a very simple film to follow. So emotionally, it's doing all those things to you. But at first, I did not grasp the film. But when he started, when he starts, when he talks to his teacher, and when he starts about, he starts saying this, like I'm not the worst kid in the group. There are kids doing worse things than I am. But why does everyone pick up on me? That's when the film started becoming clear to me, and then you see these power structures which are there around him, which will not let him be free. And he's also perpetuating the system by taming a untamable bird. And if I'm not wrong, I've not done any research on it. I think uh, in Britain, um, during the monarchy, I think every bird or every class had is associated with a bird, and the the slaves or the worker class is associated with hawks. So these things.
Knave, it's called a kestrel, right? So it's
Yes,
adapted from a novel called The Kestrel for a Knave.
correct,
So kestrels are for knaves, eagles for emperors, the
correct.
falcon or something for a king,
So
peregrine
I
for a
had
prince.
read this, but I mean, I
Yeah.
did not go deep into it. So Arnav is absolutely right. So then this tells you, like, this is this system which I totally, I have a strong belief that the system works in perpetuity to suppress you and keep you in a state of debt. So this film does it so simply, and it does it with such crystal clarity that there is no other way than to just say like wow. And I realized that Ken Loach's film do that to me all the time. So, I saw I, Daniel Blake, I felt I was stunned into silence. I saw Kes, and even though I saw it at home, I felt It silenced me. And then I saw Sorry We Missed You. Uh, I can't really tell you like how I think out of all these three films, that was the film which really stunned me. I could not get out of my seat. Even though Guess is clearly the masterpiece, but this film had that effect on me. Even though this Sorry We Missed You did not have as many layers as this film did, but it still does all these things to you. So that's why I said Kes is definitely more lyrical than all these other films. These films that I'm talking about. These other films, great films, but it's all there in front of you, and there is. I wouldn't say there are a lot of layers to peel, but with Kes that was not the case. So you you get stunned by what you've seen, and then you start appreciating all the layers that it has. And it's such sophisticated filmmaking. It's there is no other way than to just appreciate it, call it a masterpiece. So that's my bit about Ken Loach. I think I Arno or Vivek might have something to add if you talked about it.
Yep, you already mentioned the three films that you saw, and those were made in the last decade, right? So his career actually spans across 5 decades. So he's made a lot of films. So I I wouldn't call myself a fan of Ken Loach. Guess I love absolutely, but I mean I have a slight aversion to social realism in cinema. My expectations from cinema is different than just trap social realism. So exactly for the qualities you mentioned, the lyrical nature of this film, that's why I like it. But there are other Ken Loach films which I really like. One would be Riff Raff. That's about a Scottish construction worker coming to work in London. He will actually uh, renovate a old hospital, dysfunctional hospital, into a luxury apartment while he himself is homeless. So that's the premise of the film. So again, similar concerns about the working class, their condition. Then another film that I really like is My Name Is Joe. It was around 2000, somewhere around that. It came out. Same similar themes, and a kind of departure from his social realism would be a film called Looking for Eric. So that was in 2010 or somewhere around that. So this is about a postman who is kind of having hallucinations about Eric Cantona. So football fans will appreciate it. Eric Cantona himself was there in the film. So yeah, that's pretty much about what I think about King Loach as a filmmaker. Yep.
That was also
Also,
matching what. Yeah.
I'm with Aruna with in terms of I also have more expectations with filmmakers with just doing low bro social not low bro, that's not right word to say use just social realism doesn't cut it. I totally agree with it. You need to do more with when you're talking about cinema. You need to do more with
That was the wholesome take on Ken Loach and his filmography. Both of you, Vishal and Arnav. Like, yeah. Kritik and Vivek, do you want to add something about this filmmaker?
No, this is actually the only Ken Loach film I have seen, so I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Vivek?
Most of the points, have already been covered by Aruna and Vishal, and they're absolutely right when they say that this filmmaker is a very political kind of filmmaker, and often his movies, I find them to be too on the nose about what they're trying to say. But um, in his vast filmography, every now and then there is something that will stand out. And talking about Kess again, this is where it all started, right? This is the film which put him on the map, and it was a big festival sweep and all these things. And also, I may be wrong here. Please correct me. It's one of the early examples of the British kitchen sink genre. So
Yep.
Right. Is
Yeah.
there anything older than this which fits into the category?
I don't think so because the collective that these three guys, Ken Loach, the author of the novel which has been adapted, I forgot his name, and one more guy, they form this collective. I think they are usually seen as the pioneers of kitchen sink realism. But I'll have to delve a bit deeper.
So, with that in mind, and also Kess had come up in one of our previous curations. I can't remember which one, but we couldn't, give it a slot. So it was a much more easier choice this time around because the connection to the theme is so strong. Then, yeah, I thought, it's Ken Loach is a filmmaker our audience or our members should at least be aware of. Not saying you have to go explore every film of his, but at least members should be aware of. So, what better film to pick than Guess to introduce Ken Loach? So, yeah, that's the reason we picked the film.
Yeah, this was the most apt film actually. I think for our theme. I guess the theme title that we have, Our Fellow Creatures. So
Oh, really? My
yeah,
opinion is that the film for tomorrow
yeah. Tomorrow I haven't
is.
watched it. Definitely, I'll have to watch. And the other films that Nav and Vishal mentioned about Ken Loach's, definitely will have to look into it.
Yeah, I think tomorrow's film, if you could, replace the title and call it Our Fellow Creatures, it would still work.
Okay, sure, sure.
So let's
Okay,
have this discussion again tomorrow about
definitely.
which is the most apt fit for the
Okay,
theme.
sure.
So since Vivek brought up kitchen sink realism, right? So another film just came into my mind. It's called The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. It's again from the 60s, early 60s. That also fits into this genre. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I would strongly recommend that as well.
I'm sorry. Can you please share a link or something to that?
Yeah, sure. It's called The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
Yep, got it. Thank you. Okay, then. So I think that's all about it. If anyone wants to add something, then or else we can close the session. It's been already 1.5 hours.
Yeah, I think we can wrap up.
Yeah, just one last note. I think I don't know
Definitely.
whether someone mentioned it before I joined or not, but the film Centerpiece, right? The scene where the teacher, the English teacher, encourages Billy to actually talk about the bird and how he trained it, right? So the stylistic choices in that particular scene, right? How it starts. So he slowly opens up, right, and then starts giving out more details. And I mean, the way that scene is kind of shot, right? So it starts with the long shot of the boy, kind of slumped against the desk in the lower part of the frame. And as Billy sort of gains authority and presence and gains more and more confidence while telling about his exploits with the bird or the hawk, Loach kind of cuts back and forth between the boy, the teacher, and the class, which is kind of riveted, right? And each time the camera turns to Billy, right, he's framed tighter, and the sequence kind of ends with Billy in one of the very few, or I'll say, if I'm not wrong, it's the only close up in the film. So that was a beautiful scene. And that's one of my abiding memories from the film as well.
Oh, that was an interesting observation. Yeah.
And Billy himself was, he's a non-professional, right? He was chosen from the town itself, Barnsley. So he kind of embodies the film itself, untapped potential.
Also, the he kind of kidnaps the hawk, right? And that structure is also very symbolic because it seems like it's a rundown. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it seems like um, a ruin from the days gone by.
Yes, it's actually
What,
in a private property of someone else,
so
and it's
so
an
that
old
is
building,
something
ruined building.
quite interesting. Though I did not notice this because I've not seen the film again. So if that's the only close up, then that's quite an interesting stylistic choice, and yeah, quite a strong stylistic choice. It'd be very interesting to see when I see it again.
Yeah. So this film marked that, stark departure from the stylistic choices that Ken Loach used to make earlier in his career in his previous film Poor Cow. So he was very much influenced by Godard and Brecht and all of that. So he had jump cuts and very fast handled shots, very jerky motions, cutting to music, all of that. In this film, he changed completely. He just decided, and that is the choice he has been following ever since, that the camera will just be an unobtrusive observer. It will not get close into the private spaces of the characters. It will just watch from a distance.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we can close the session.
By the way, before we end,
Yeah, please.
Varun, fantastic job hosting your first
Oh,
ever
oh, okay.
discussion. And
There's
anyone
nothing
listening
much.
on YouTube, if you enjoyed this discussion, uh, you know, send Varun a message either on YouTube or on Telegram,
Oh,
letting him know to encourage him to come back more often.
definitely, I
Yeah.
will have to work on my moderation skills, and
No, man,
there
you
is
did
more.
great.
Yeah,
There's nothing to fix. It was perfect.
actually, there was
So,
nothing from my end to add more to the film. Actually, this was all from you people, Arnav, Pratik, and Vishal and Kaigal. Yeah,
but yeah, butter
thank
smooth
you so much.
for a first timer.
Oh, thank you.
Great work.
Sure, sure. I think we can wrap up the session and we can join tomorrow. Yeah. See you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Varun, you're ending the live stream, right?
Yes, yes.